mentioned, somebody asked, and for the online people, this could be important. When do you get your final grade? Probably sometime over next weekend. I will send an email, hopefully tonight, about how to register and do all that stuff for the final. And probably on the weekend that ends on the 8th, right, on the 6th or 7th or something like that, I'll be grading. I'm putting grades for online people. And then on the 8th, I have a big, horrible grade-a-thon for the people who are here and take it that time. And I'll try to post grades late at night. Correct me if I'm wrong. The topics that are harder are recursion and maps. Is that correct? The topics that are harder for you guys are recursion and maps. No? Are there any topics that are harder? Any topics that you want to go over? Maps, array list, and recursion, right? Okay, so we'll leave recursion for the end. But have you ever played, I was gonna do something that we can do with maps and stuff. Have you ever played Choose Your Own Adventure books? Have you ever read Choose Your Own Adventure books? You remember? No. Yeah. Old Americans do. This used to be popular in the US at some point in time. Can I go look at something? Kindergarten, because that's what we're going to do. It's basically... I go look at this. There it is. You get something like this, right? Some description, right? Something that's happening, the monster's about to eat you, whatever, and then you have choices. If you do this, then go to page 9. If you do something else, turn to page 5. Does that make sense? In computer games, we used to have adventure games, right? Hunt the Wumpus and those kinds of things. They're basically this stuff with a computer program keeping track of that. Usually, the adventure games tend to have a little bit more because you can carry stuff, and depending on what you can carry, you can kill the monster or not, or something like that, right? Do you understand how this works? Yes. We're going to do something this simple, right? How can we represent this? How could we represent this on a computer? Well, this is one page, right? So I'm going to have, I created a thing called, so I'm going to have static class book page, right? What do I have in here? I have the text, right? I have this stuff. And then what is this? How can I represent this? An if statement, I would need different methods or something like that, right? To have this stuff on every page, right? I could have a couple of methods, but if not, right, I can make this generic, right? What does this look like? Do you realize what changes between the first and the second line?
Increment.
Sorry?
Decrement.
Increment, decrement, what changes between these two lines? Like syntactically?
Page.
The page and what else?
Numbers.
Action.
This stuff, right? If this, right, then Turn to page is the exact same thing, the comma, the if, right? This action, right? And then the page, right? So what is this? It's some bunch of actions and pages. Does that idea make sense?
Result of action.
Sorry?
It's like result of action.
Yes, the action and the result, right? It's a list of the actions that you can take with their results, right? Does that idea make sense? Cool. How can we represent this in Java? Not the if, the data, right? And then, right? We could represent it with some sort. How do we represent a bunch of things? Array or array list, right? We could have an array list of things, right? And then the things are a user-defined class, our class, with an action and a result, right? We could also use, as Dilafruz said, a map, right? Where we map this string, the action, to the page. Does that make sense? So we could have, and that's how we're going to do it, because we want to play with maps, map of string to integer, right? Does this make sense? Has the string for the action and then the page that I go to. Does this idea make sense? Yes? Cool. Now let's flesh this out, right? Let's do a constructor, right? And at least you have to pass me the text, right? And I will do this dot text equals text. This dot actions equals new hash map. That should work, right? Actually, I'm not going to let you set the text. Get text, actually, that shouldn't be void, right? What does it return? Get text. Let me do add action. Slightly different, right? What do we do here? How do we add that thing? To whom? Actions dot, can I add? Put, right? Action, that's my key, and page is my value. Right? Is this cool?
So it added to the end of the map?
It doesn't matter, right? A map is sorted by the key, if you wish, so it added it to the middle, to whatever the heck it is, right? In fact, it may not have added, it may be overriding.
Yes.
Right? But it put it into the map.
Why you didn't add a hash map after action when you define map?
Here. You could, wait, I don't add a hash map after actions. I initialize my variable just like every other variable, right, that I could initialize I can do equals and then define what the heck I want it equal to. I could do it here. I could do it in my constructor. It's variable initialization. There is nothing magical about this, right? I can do it there in the constructor. And I need get actions, right? Public map of string to integer get actions. So that's one page. What's a book? Or let me call it adventure book or something like that, right? What does the book have? Maybe a title, sorry? A title and one page?
No.
Some bunch of pages, right? How can I represent that bunch of pages? Array list, let's do an array list, right? So we use all the collections. Actually, I should have a list rather than an array list. And then when I initialize, right, I should be doing it like this.
Do you need me to pay?
I don't. But I don't. I could have an array list, right? But if I make it an array list, eventually I will be using methods that are not on the list class, right? And so I will force myself to use an array list. And if 2 years from now you guys discover a better way to do array lists, right, as part of your PhD, you discover a new algorithm for doing this stuff, and so the class that we should use now shouldn't be array list, you cannot change it.
No, interface.
What do you mean interface?
Do you need interface?
Do I need to define interfaces? No. I can. I don't need to. Would you rather we define an interface? What interface? For doing what?
For the whole class?
Something like this for the adventure book. One sec. Maybe let's do that. What do I have here? Public string get title. Public list of book page get pages, and then public how do I add a page? Yes. Now that's an array list, so I just call add, right? Do we want to define an interface just for fun? Static interface. And the standard or the convention in Java is, actually the convention in C# is to use whatever. I don't know if it's a convention in Java too, but So we are going to have these guys, right? I'm going from the class to the interface. Normally do it the other way around, but I cannot have code. So I have my interface, right? And then I can have this, right?
If you define pages as an array list instead of list, what difference does it make?
Probably not much. List is an interface. Array list is a class. Array list will have potentially have other methods that list doesn't have. So if I define it as array list, I am constraining myself more than I probably should. It's not terribly important, right? But it's just if on your PhD you come up with a better list class, I cannot use it anymore because I said that it was an array list, right? If we come up with a better way, right, I can change this to linked list, right? And I don't have to change anything else because it also implements the array list interface, right? If I declare it to be of type of the interface, then I can only use the methods of the interface, not of the class. So it's like a superclass, right? It's not a class, so it cannot be a superclass. But yes. Does that idea make sense? And so I can just come and change this stuff here, right, in one place, and that changes the implementation. I didn't use any of the other things. If I declare an array list, then I may not realize it and use a method that's a member of the array list class, but not of the list interface, and so I end up backing myself into a corner. For something like this, it's not a big deal. It's just good practice, kind of. Chances are that if you do it in an array list, it would be the same thing. But now, I'm going to create a static class that creates a sample adventure book that we're going to be playing with, right? So, what do I do here? Okay, so I have my sample book. What do I want to do here? Well, we create a page, right? Oh. I have the whole thing, right? So I'm using /n to do new lines. there is a monster, right? Page 2. It's you. We need one more thing on the, actually, let's put it on the, we have is win and is loss, right? And so we pass here is win, is loss. Am I doing right English? Oh, I need to be saying here Boolean. And then I need to do public Boolean so we know whether we are done, right? So in here we would say this one is neither win nor lose. This one is neither win nor lose. This one is not a win but a lose. And this one is a win and not a lose. Right? We haven't added, so we need to do book.addPage p0. You would probably be reading this stuff from a file or something like that, right? And we need to do adding actions, right? p0.addAction. What can we do? And that will take you to page 1. If you fight the monster, you get to page 2, and the monster is going to eat you. And if you run, you go to page 3. Does this make some sense? Now let's create a Actually, let's do Boolean. So it returns whether you win or lose. Nah, let's do point. And we can change it if we need to. Let's assume you always start at page 0, right? So what are we going to do? How do we play? We are going to display the text, right, for the page. We start at page 0, display the text, display the actions, get something from the user, right? And then go to wherever they wanted to go, right? Does that idea make sense? And keep going until we find either a page that is a win or a page that is a loss, right? Yes, no, maybe? Yes? Cool. So let's do that. Let's do book page current page equals book.getPages.get 0. So that's page 0, right? While you neither win nor lose, we do stuff, right? What do we do? Display the text. How do we do that? System.out.println. What do we print?
You win or lose.
Sorry?
Win or lose.
No, right? We know that neither wins nor lose. So how do we get the text for a page?
Yes, yes.
Get text, right? Right? Now we need to display the options, right? How can we do that?
You.
How many options do we have? 0, 1, 2, a bunch, right? To put it in technical terms. How do I deal with bunches of things in code? What construct lets me do things for bunches of things? Sorry? List or array lets me store bunches, right? What kinds of things let me do stuff to bunches of things? For loop, right? Or some kind of loop, right? A loop allows me to do something to a bunch of things, right? So I can do a for each loop, right? And how can I get, right? Over which things do I want to iterate on? The page has a bunch of actions, right? That actions method is a map, right? So what do I need to do? I want to iterate over the keys of the map. So what method can I call in a map to get me its keys?
Iterator.
Get keys, maybe. Key set. Something like that, right? We'll find out. We'll find out in a second. Current page dot get actions dot key set. Right? I do system. Let's see. Does this make sense? So now I have a scanner, right? This would get me, right? And then what do I want to do? I have whatever the user wanted me to do, right? This is a horrible UI. I'm asking the user to type the same stuff again. We are programmers, not UX designers. No, we can fix that later. What do we do with that action? The user told me, right? I want to run, right? So what do I do?
Make a method that runs.
No, right? Because this is coming from a list. I need to go into my map of actions, right? And find which page corresponds to that action, right? How do I do that? Do I have a method in a map that tells me which value corresponds to a key?
Yeah, that's
There is no getValue method. There is no getActions is a method on a book page, right? What methods does map have? What are the useful methods of a map? How can I add a value to a map? Put. How do I get a value from a map? Get, right? I pass it the key and it gives me the value. Does that make sense?
Get key.
It's not get key, it's just get. Integer new page equals actions.
Get value.
Sorry?
What is get values for?
Get values gets you a list of all the values. Current page dot get actions dot get user action. And then current page I should validate, but validation is for cowards. We'll run it and we'll run it in prod. Now current page is going to be book dot get pages dot get of new page. So now I can define my main, public, static, void main, string args. I can do adventure book, create sample adventure, and then I want to do, oops, doesn't it like, oh, yeah. I should declare this to take the interface, not the class, right? So now it works. Because I declared this as to be as an adventure book. So let's do it. Maybe. Let's think about maybe eventually doing it. Okay. So what do I want to do? I want to go to the only place I can go. Sounds good to me. Paste the exact same thing. Page 1, there's a monster. What do we want to do? Fight it or run? What do we want to do?
Run.
Okay. I'll run. That's my standard behavior. Woohoo! And it ends. Okay. Not terribly useful. Maybe we want to do here if, let's see, if current page dot is loose, system dot out dot print line, nya 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 nya, something like that. Actually, I need to do current page dot. Let's print the text. System dot out dot println current page dot get text. Now let's run it again. Go to the only place I can go. There's a monster. What do I want to do? Run or fight? Let me run. And it tells me, you outrun the monster, would you win? And then, wow, you won. Woohoo! I'm so good at playing this game. I want to fight it. I'm a fighter. The monster eats you. Okay, that should be eats you. Isn't this cool? We have adventure games with maps and array lists and blackjack. Questions?
The top class,
Book page?
the top class, the first
Adventure,
page,
the main class.
what is it? Is it the super class or something?
It's neither. It's just because I'm too lazy to define bunches of classes. In Java, you always have to define classes, right? Everything has to be, your main has to belong to a class. Everything has to belong to a class. So it's basically the class that has main. In fact, we should really have, actually, that's not a bad thing. Let's fix this so it doesn't suck. Let's create a new package. This is what we should do. Call it adventure. Inside this package, I should have a new class, which is book page. Oh, it actually put it the right place. Woohoo! Right? I have a book page class. Now I should have a, I have an interface, right? I adventure books, so I'm gonna create another class. And yeah, they're dumb. I create a new class and then say that it's an interface. And if you look, right, I'm basically doing the exact same thing, except that I am replacing static with public to make these things available outside the package. I'm going to create a new class called Adventure Book. My IDE tends to be nice and tell me those things. And did I mess up? Yes, I did, because this guy's shouldn't be there. This guy shouldn't be there, right? And so I can just do import com.company.adventure. Oh, .star. And that makes my code work. Sorry?
What was that you import? The company?
Com.company?
Yeah.
Oh, IntelliJ starts right with a sample package, and when I started this project, I just didn't change that stuff. So IntelliJ creates a sample package called com.company, and I was creating stuff in there. I can actually do refactor, rename. Let's change this thing from com.company to edu.ksu.cs5000. It just does it for me. And this still ends up doing the same thing, right? What happens if I do something else? Yeah, it crashes, right? Exercise to the reader, go do all that stuff so it doesn't crash, and put while loops and validate your inputs and something like that. But any other questions on this stuff? The adventure, right, is just basically the one that holds my main and my main method. The adventure class, that's what it was, right? Any other questions?
Can you use exception in this case?
What do you mean, can you use exception?
I want to
You want an example that does exceptions? Okay. It's what would we do here?
In one of the codes, function throws an exception, but you didn't define it. This function throws. You could try catch inside the definition of the.
Yes. So the function never throws an exception.
It gets it.
Somebody else does, right, inside, but the function never ends up throwing an exception.
I thought just whenever you call the function, you created a try catch, not inside the definition of the function.
If a function calls another function, right, then the caller may have a try catch that catches the exception that the callee gets.
It called itself as a return type.
It calls itself as a return type. That doesn't make any sense.
So return integer that parse int.
Yes, which is not the same. I'm calling parseInt from, it was some example, right? Let me just, one sec. Let me put stuff in here. New class examples, right? I think what you're talking about is integer, let's do parse int, right? Public static and let's do int, right? I do try
Thanks.
thank you. Right? Is this function the same as this? It's not the same, right? It's a different method from a different class. Yeah.
The second function that throws an exception.
Integer.parseInt may throw an exception, but examples.parseInt will never throw an exception. Not, right? Yeah, you can have methods with the same name in different classes and they're not the same. You could also have,
So what if a method do you just put throws in exception, or you put a recursive in the try?
That depends on, right? If you say that throws, if you declare that the method can throw an exception, then it can throw it whether it's recursive or not, right?
The recursive type is the name of the function, and it might throw an exception, so you don't have to put in a try catch inside of the definition.
No, like let's do stuff. No, let's do searches, right? I'm doing horrible things. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Is this something usable? Sorry. Oh, but that's gonna be, oh. We can search on a graph, right? A graph is a bunch of nodes and a bunch of edges. It's basically what we're doing with Adventure, right? It's just an abstract way of doing that stuff. So we are having some data and a map from this. So if data of root data equals target, this is horrible, but is no entry set, right?
It's the variable.
Dot entry, sorry. Oh, it's map dot entry of this. Mm. Get value, right? No, I'm an idiot. Never mind. I am an idiot. I don't need a map. I need an array. This is still horrible, but okay. Right? So I could do this function has to say that it throws exception, but I don't care where it throws it, right? Like, there's only, this function is recursive, it calls itself. I only say that it throws exception once on the function, right? Some calls may throw an exception, some may not. Is that what you were asking?
Yes. I mean, in the definition of the function, you don't have to put in a try catch.
Wait. Okay. When I define functions, I cannot put try catch. Try catch is code that is executing, not defining stuff. When I'm defining functions, I put throws and declare what things can throw.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In recursive methods, you call it in itself inside it. So you don't have to put it in the try.
I could do either. I could either do I could put a try catch here, right? And now the method would not throw an exception. Well, it would still throw an exception, right? But I could do this. I can. I don't have to. That depends on whether I can do something with the exception or not.
Does it make any difference?
Yes, right? If not, when I do that, it would just die. Now it doesn't die, right? Of course it makes a difference. I have a try catch. Sure. Now, when would you do something? It depends on what you're trying to do. Clear as mud? We have about 15 minutes, so let's do something recursive, like simple. The standard examples. This one got you guys in trouble, right? In the how do I know if a number is prime? Well, how do I know if a number is not prime? It's divisible by something other than itself and 1, right? How do I know if a number is prime? Well, I test every number between 2 and n minus 1 and verify that it's not divisible by it, right? And that tells me that n is prime. Does that idea make sense? Yes? So I'm going to have this number, right, that checks whether n has actually, yeah, has divisors between n and from, right? How about this? So if n is divisible by from, ooh, maybe, yeah, from no. Let's do this. Actually, maybe this will do. Can I check whether the number n has divisors between from and to, right? How do I do that? If n is divisible by from, it has that divisor, right? Does this make sense? And so if prime becomes does this make sense? I think it's actually prettier than how we did it the other way, right? Does this idea make sense? Yes, no, maybe. We can actually do system.out or print line and things like that. Seven. Sorry? That depends. Where? In here? I don't care if you tell me, right? I'm gonna tell you whether there are divisors between here and here, right? Where would I put that? In here? If you ask me whether a number has a divisors between 1 and 5, 1 is a divisor, so I would say yes. Its prime may have stuff like, well, if n is 1, then do this. If n is 2, do that, right? Those kinds of things, right? Maybe I should do this. And depends on what I do. I think if I do it this way, that would work. But let's do this one, right? True, true, false, right? So now I can do all the horrible ones, 0, 1, and 2. What should I get? Oh God. Okay, let's forget about 0. Because I can't remember. 1 is defined as not being prime, right? But it is. Oh. So I need to start doing horrible things here, right? Not to the recursive function, but probably in here. If n equals 1, return false. Actually, if n less than or equal, or let's do, if n equals 1, return false. If n less than 0, return is prime of minus n. And I have no clue what do you do with 0. Is 0 prime? Wikipedia might know.
And both 1 or 2, right?
2 is prime. And my thing is also returning sub.
0 is not a prime.
I have no clue.
Because prime number is divisible by itself and 1.
Yeah, but they do all sorts of weird things. They say that 1 is not a prime number, although,
Yeah.
right? So 1 is not prime by convention. I have no clue whether 0 is prime by convention.
Sure it is not.
False. Okay. One is neither a prime nor a composite number. 0 is not a prime or a composite number either. So officially 0 should return false for both. Whatever. Whatever. We just made it return false. Does this idea make sense? When I normally do it, right, since I know this stuff, I don't really need to be passing the 2. Since for this thing, the 2 is always going to be n minus 1, so I can do it. We don't really need to, but I think this makes it clear, right? That shows us a cool example of recursion. Any other questions? We have about 3 minutes. Anything you guys want to talk about? Now?
Most common word?
Most common word is D. No, sorry. Do we want to create something for calculating the most common word? Okay. How can we do that?
Are we going to have map the exceptions and
Yes. Yes.
on the final?
Exceptions are part of the final. Yes. And file IO is part of the final.
Because which you provide from last semester, there is
I understand that. I told you it's not a promise. It's right. It's not from last semester. It's the first time that I taught the class. So, yeah. And that. Here's the deal, right? We have a time limit. I can only ask you, right? I can only ask you 5 or 6 MIDI questions, right? I may ask you 700 true or false questions or something like that, right? But I can only ask you about 5, right? Roughly 5 interesting questions where you have to use your brain and write code. We have 20 topics, so, right? Yes. You need to know all 20 of them.
yeah.
I'm only going to ask you 5. Yes, there is stuff that wasn't there on a 5, probably. But yes, exceptions are part of the stuff that you need to know. In fact, I think the exam that we did last time actually had exceptions, right? No? Okay. It is required, yes. So how can we calculate the most common word given an array list? of words. My way would be have a map of string, the easiest way, to integer, and calculate the frequency of the words, right? So I would do for string I have this word if word frequencies dot contains key. If it's already there, right? I want to do, oh, I probably want to initialize this. If that word was already there and we have a frequency, right? If it's 5, what do I want to set it? To 6 or something like that, right? So I'm going to do put this word to whatever it had, word frequencies dot get. Does that make sense? If not, I put 1. Does this make sense? So by the end, I have all the words with their frequencies, right? And then I would need to iterate over all the entries of the map and find the max, right? So I'm going to do string hf word word frequencies dot entry set dot I can't. Okay, I can do high frequency actually is 0, right? No, it's map.entry. If it's bigger, something like this, right? And then return it's complaining because it may not have been initialized, so let me initialize it so it doesn't complain. Does this idea make sense? You would probably want to define 2 functions for those 2 for loops, but make sense? Reasonable sense? Cool. I think that's all the time we have. We are not meeting on Monday, right? We are skipping Monday? Monday the 1st? We are meeting on Monday the 8th or something like that, right?
Project
Yes, I will. So we are not meeting on Monday, May 1st, right? And the final exam for people in the class is May 8th, right?
But we are meeting on the
Sorry?
3rd. But we are meeting on the 3rd.
We are not. There is no class on the 3rd. But there is class on the 1st officially. But if you guys don't mind, we are not meeting then. Is that cool? Yes. There are videos. There are videos. There are videos. Yes. Yes. There are videos. I may not have put it on the GitHub site, but yes, I have posted videos. There is lecture April 17, lecture April 24th. Oh, there should be 19th. Yeah, where is 19th? It disappeared. 24th is there though. Cool. See you guys sometime soon.